sunshine! It's Cady from DarkSunlight. If you're new here, I make videos about bullet journaling, witchy things, and lifestyle in Montreal. If that's something you're into, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified every time I post a new video. And if you want to see how any of these spreads look when they're all filled in, then follow me on Instagram at dark_sunlight. In this video, I'll be migrating the spreads at the front of my journal into a brand new notebook for the second half of 2021. I'm starting off by setting up my key. This isn't a spread I particularly need to include because I have my key memorized at this point, but I do like to start with it almost as a practice page to get into the groove of drawing. So I'm definitely not the first person to think of drawing a key on the key page, but I thought the idea was so cute I had to give it a try. I'm currently in the process of working on a lot of branding stuff for DarkSunlight, and one thing I want to figure out is an official logo design. As a graphic designer, I find it hardest to design for myself. I always joke I'm my own worst client. So the top part of this key is me trying out one of the concepts for the logo design, and I continued that motif onto the cover page design as well. This cover design is kind of personal to me. I know a lot of people pick a word for the year, and I kind of love that idea, so my word for the second half of the year, at least, is bloom. I've been through a lot this year on top of the pandemic as well, so I felt like my first half of the year was more about healing and finding stability after change. Now that I am more rooted, I feel that it's time to bloom in all sorts of ways. In my personal life, in the way the world is reopening, and in my business. I surrounded my logo design with a plethora of botanicals and florals to emphasize that blooming theme. As a last-minute addition, I thought the key was looking too flat, so I added pointillism shading to give it some texture and dimension. The second spread to set up, which will actually span across two spreads, is my future log for the remaining months of the year. I'll start by adding July through December on this page and continue with January to June on the following page, in case I have any appointments or plans in the far future that I need to take note of. Across the top of the page, I decided to do a mix of botanicals that would pertain to the season of the month they were above. During one of my Twitch streams, I asked my viewers to help me make a list of their favorite plants and flowers to choose from, and I drew as many as I could across the pages. For the summer months, I drew a combination of hosta leaves and begonias. Through the fall, I added one of my favorites, which I call pumpkin flowers, but I think they are Chinese lanterns or ground cherries. Into the winter months, I drew cedar leaves, pine cones, and mistletoe. To keep the titles consistent throughout this setup, I just did my basic cursive lettering and thickened up the downstrokes to give it that faux brush-lettered look. On the following page, I continued with the winter plants through to April. There's a lot of winter months here in Canada. For the spring, I drew some apple blossoms, lily of the valley, sweet peas, and lilacs. On the following page, it was time to migrate over my moon phase tracker and Samhain tarot spread for the remaining months of the year. I started by adding the titles, and then on the left, I drew a chart for the moon phases from July through to December. In the center of the page, I added a key to take note of what each moon phase is and what it means. On the right side of the page, I wrote in the remaining tarot cards for the year from July through to October, and the clarifying card for the entire year. Once Samhain comes around again on October 31st, I'll need to do a new reading for the next year. This next part was tedious, but I added silver dots throughout the moon phase chart to make it easier to read and add a little sparkle. Along the top of the page, I chose to add more of my beloved pumpkin flowers as a decoration. I thought it would fit well on this page since Samhain is in the fall and also because it seemed appropriate for Halloween. This next spread likely won't be relevant to everyone, but it's something I hope to enjoy looking back on. If you saw my original 2021 bullet journal setup, then you saw I had a very different style for this page, but it really didn't work out for me. I tried to cram too many things into one chart, so this time I'm separating each element into its own little graph. To carry on the blooming theme of this setup, I wanted to use these charts to encourage me to work hard to grow my business throughout the remaining months of the year. Along the top of the spread, I chose to draw some budding cherry blossoms as I thought this would represent my budding business well and add a little sweetness to the overall layout. The next spread is going to be a recreation of my health tracker and favorite food spread from the beginning of the year. The favorite food spread is one that I had loved in the past, but didn't actually end up using much through the first half of this year, so I've decided to simplify it. It's just going to be a big list of foods I enjoy, divided into categories of main meals, snacks, and fave takeout places. It will serve as a useful reference for when I'm feeling uninspired about what meals to plan for the week. The health tracker is unchanged, just shortened to only show July through December. But as usual, it's a place to track my menstrual cycle, any physical illness, doctor or dentist appointments, and now vaccine dates as well. To decorate the top of the page, I opted to add in some sweet pea flowers and buds around the titles. I think I'm most excited about this next spread. It's exactly the same concept as the goal spread I set up at the beginning of the year, but I'm adding a lot more categories to it, and I'm so excited to fill out a list of smaller SMART goals and tasks to bring me closer to my ultimate business and personal goals. For each goal category, I created a tracker bar of 10 boxes to fill in. Beneath each tracker bar, I'll add a list of 10 smaller tasks that would benefit that goal category. As I complete these smaller tasks, the tracker gets filled in, and suddenly, achieving your goals is gamified and way more fun. It's just so satisfying to see those trackers get filled in over time. Along the top of the page, I added some delicate Lily of the Valley to make this page even more inviting to look at, so I'm even more likely to remember it exists and continue to fill it in. Because sometimes that's the reality of a bullet journal. You set up these spreads with the best of intentions, but sometimes they just don't work the way you wanted, or you simply forgot about them. I do find that adding a little decor, although it may seem pointless or frivolous, keeps me interested in using the spreads that I create. This last spread should look pretty familiar to you by now, but in case it doesn't, I do have an entire video about what a grid spacing guide is and how to use it in your own journal. It may not be the prettiest spread in the setup, but it is by far the most useful. I flip back to this page often when I want to set up weeklies in a certain way and need to see how many boxes to count to divide up my page like I planned. I tend to keep note of how to divide in half, in thirds, in quarters, and in fifths, as those are the divisions I use most often. And with all of that done, let's flip through all the spreads we've created today. I did keep this theme pretty simple in terms of leaving it all black and white, but I think adding all the varying textures and shapes of botanicals means it's still interesting to look at, and this way I can't really get sick of the colors over the next few months. Overall, I'm really happy with how it came out, and I cannot wait to jump into using it, especially that goal spread. If you were inspired by any of these designs in your own bullet journals, feel free to tag me on Instagram so I can check them out. I will of course have a digital printable of this setup available soon for you to download and print on Patreon, as well as a blank version usable for any year in my Etsy shop. Both my Patreon and Etsy will be linked below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time.